This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Welcome in to the Monday Mashup, Monday, April 22nd, 2 days removed from the weed holiday of the year, 420.
It's a good holiday. I think it's a great holiday, even.
I didn't partake.
The guy at Taco Bell wished me a happy 420 that day. He was like a 17-year-old kid.
They do that.
Yeah.
They do that. I remember in my high school days when I may or may not have indulged.
Maybe. Just once.
But no, I remember going through drive-thrus on 420 and Taco Bell people being like, Hey man, happy 420.
Yeah,
I see you're celebrating.
1:30 in the morning coming back from the bar, and he was like, happy Easter, 420, whatever you guys are celebrating. I was like, yeah, great. Thanks, man.
Yeah, happy Easter's been flying around too. I feel like people are just assuming my religion.
Yeah.
It's 2019, man.
I don't have much of a religion, so.
Steering clear of that.
Yeah.
It's one religion in Detroit, at least if you ask some people who probably aren't us, is, I guess, hockey.
Hey, Hockey Town.
Some people in Detroit apparently are big hockey people. Who knew?
Yeah,
Who knew?
Unbeknownst to me.
The city with the nickname Hockey Town apparently has some like hockey fans.
Where are they? They don't go to the games.
They're not at the games. That's for damn sure. Maybe they will be now.
Not me, but maybe.
I may go to a game. I've long said, like, I used to be kind of a diehard Wings fan. And one of the reasons why I just stopped being a diehard Wings fan was, one, I started to like really watch the NBA and become more diehard NBA. And when you're like a diehard NBA fan, there's no time for hockey.
No. There's way more, like the storylines never stop in the NBA. I don't have time to watch a hockey game.
Side note, I think, and I've been kind of mulling on this all week, but now I've officially gotten to the point, and it kind of stems from the Brooklyn 76ers fight. Which wasn't really a fight, but it was still awesome.
Skirmish.
Yeah. Like, you can have these post-game things, like the Ben Simmons, Jared Dudley stuff, where you have this interview and Ben Simmons gets asked, hey, Jared Dudley said you're average in the half court. And he's like, that's Jared Dudley, man.
Jared Dudley, for me, I lost it when he got mad at the Warriors for coaching themselves when he was with Phoenix. It's like, well, you play for Phoenix. What'd you expect?
I've never enjoyed Jared Dudley, but then he hit 2 consecutive threes against the Sixers and held his arms up in Ben Simmons' face.
For a very long time.
For an excessively long period of time.
He was celebrating Easter.
It was, he is risen, is what he was doing out there. He looked like the Jesus statue in Rio de Janeiro.
Yes.
He was on the floor, just arms open for way too long. And Ben Simmons didn't like it really at all, I would venture.
Who would?
I don't know that he cared that much, but I know he didn't like it very much.
I mean, it is Jared Dudley. He probably didn't care
And then
that much.
things boiled over, and Jared Dudley shoved Embiid, and it was absolutely electric.
I'm having so much fun with how mad the Brooklyn Nets as an organization are, Joel Embiid. Like, Sean Marks is going into the referee's locker room after the game to complain that flagrant fouls are only being flagrant ones, even though he knows that's decided in Secaucus and not by the 3 guys on the floor. He's going to go into the ref's locker room and get mad at them for something that they didn't even do.
This is totally tangential, and we will get back to the Wings in a minute. But
Sure.
First of all, like, Brooklyn being the way that they are, this team's going to be fun as shit for like a decade. I'm ready to love this team.
They should be super attractive to like one free agent who's borderline. Like,
if there are 3 teams that I love right now, it is the Celtics, obviously, and then the Nets and the Clippers. Those are 3 teams that I'm absolutely head over heels for at the moment.
I like the Clippers' like grit and attitude and all that.
That's
I'm
exactly
waiting
why.
to see exactly what they'll be this summer because I feel like they could pivot. Like, they could just get Kawhi and then they'd be the same team but even grittier, but with this guy who's like half grit and half like transcendent superstar.
And also half like doesn't want to talk or
perfect for
have
the Clippers,
any personality
guess what?
at all.
Nobody wants you to talk. You play for the Clippers. We're not interested in you.
We're
really
the redheaded stepchild in this city.
Just go to Seattle. Just do it, Steve. Just go. Like, just go. But still.
Losing the Clipper brand, like, I know it's not the Lakers, but the Clipper brand is a brand. And I think, like, that's part of why they can't go to Seattle.
I'll give them credit for what they're doing with the brand, too, like trying to lean into the gritty thing and attract that side of Los Angeles.
It's nice. You got Pat Bev.
Yeah, I mean, the Lakers have always been, like, Flash. So if you want to be the antithesis of Flash and attract that brand, like, go for it.
So the whole point why I went on this little tangent is a theory I've been working on for why I enjoy the NBA so much and why I enjoy NBA storylines and also why the NBA is so much more successful. It's because you can see it. Like, they're not wearing a helmet like football or hockey, so you can get the close-ups on their face and read their lips when they're telling someone to fuck off.
I will say, hockey trash talk is awesome.
Oh, hockey trash talk is elite. Hockey trash talk is fantastic, but you don't see it as
than
much.
Anything else. Like basketball trash talk is quick and cutting, and it's just like something that it's born and spurned in playgrounds. Hockey trash talk is like half polite, half just like super literal. Just like, hey, buddy, you suck.
And
like,
always really offensive.
Exactly. Like, hey, fuck
like
you, bud.
It's pretty much the simplest way to be offensive. Yeah. Hey, fuck you, bud. It's the best.
You're scared like a minor leaguer. Like, what? Hey, fuck off, bud. Like,
it's just time. It's really good. If you listen to Pardon My Take, which I know you do, and every once in a while they have Paul Bissonnette on to go through hockey lingo.
He's phenomenal.
Awesome episodes every time he does it. Like, I'm not a big hockey guy, but whenever Paul Bissonnette's on,
the most hockey that I've watched over like the last 2 years is the Trash Talk compilation video that gets put on YouTube at the end of the year every year.
Which is good.
They're phenomenal. Yeah, like they're absolutely phenomenal.
Like the NFL has the mic'd up, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. But the NBA almost doesn't even need it because the lip reading, like, it's all right in front of your face. And that's where it's like we can watch in real time where Ben Simmons and Jared Dudley are going at each other in the press, and then they're going at each other on the floor, and then they're jawing at each other, and mics catch some of what they're saying live in game.
I mean, I think back to like probably the best trash talk moment in the NBA in the last 5-6 years was Draymond and Paul Pierce at the free throw line underneath the basket. That was like, we heard it live. Like, you could hear what he was saying right then in that moment. It came out on Twitter 5 minutes later, but I was watching that game. I could hear what he was saying.
You thought you was Kobe.
Like, you're chasing that farewell tour.
You thought you was Kobe.
That. Like, and it was so quick. It was so awesome because I couldn't hear Paul Pierce saying he's too little and telling Blake to body him. But I could hear Draymond immediately saying, you thought you were Kobe. You can't get love like that.
Draymond, first, like, we have to give credit where credit is due, too. Draymond's an elite trash talker.
Oh, I mean, Saginaw is like the top 3 places you can be from to learn how to talk shit on a basketball court.
But anyway, long walk to a short drink of water. That's the reason why I think the NBA to me is so much more engaging, is because, like, it's just face to face. Like, I can see everything that's happening. There's not a mile of pads between me and a player, or a helmet that completely obscures the face, or it's not baseball where personalities are actively impaired. Like, you're not allowed to have
certain
fun.
Personalities that don't speak perfect English.
Which maybe we should also talk about that just on the way, while we're on this topic. I just want to, now that I've thought about it, did you see the Tim Anderson bat flip?
Yeah, I loved the bat flip.
I loved it. Awesome. It was fantastic.
I was a pitcher and I don't even care. I've had home runs hit off me. Like, it happens.
That's my whole thing. Like, if you have a problem with the hitter celebrating a home run, throw a better pitch.
Like, everyone gives up home runs.
It happens.
It's a thing. Like, it's going to happen. You're gonna make a bad pitch. Hitters are good.
If you jack one, like, let them celebrate.
Sure, why not?
You let them celebrate touchdowns in the NFL. We got people flexing over 2-point field goals in NBA. Like, celebrations are celebrations are celebrations.
Malik Beasley was flexing on a missed dunk. Like,
seriously, he was out of his mind.
Nuts.
Yeah. So that's just another tangent. Is I think baseball, and maybe we'll do this in another episode in the summer, but I think baseball needs to lean more into the bat flipping and the excitement factor than go away. Also, the unwritten rules are stupid.
Yeah, I mean,
they're just stupid.
I've as a pitcher, I have thrown at someone before for doing something to a different team. Like, I've never thrown at a guy for hitting a home run off me, but I've thrown at someone when I felt like one of my guys got thrown at, and I never threw hard enough to make it hurt.
I've done that.
At the same time, I don't know who the hell the guy from Kansas City was that hit him. I can't even his name. I don't even know if I ever learned it, but at least he threw it in the ass. Like, he didn't go at his head. He didn't throw him high. Like, hit him right between the cheeks.
But it's still just, it's dumb to me. It's just like I have done it before too, but it's like I was a pitcher as well, but it's the same thing that's just dumb. It's like you made a bad pitch, or that guy just did a great job of hitting your pitch and he celebrated. You throwing at him, like, it feels like mental illness almost. All right, I just need to get this guy back. If putting somebody on base is your prerogative, that's your prerogative. But there were calls for, like, if you flip a bat, that's an automatic 1-out penalty. Please go away. Please go away.
This is why, like, baseball, you're never going to be a new thing in 2000. Like, you're going to be done by 2025 if that's the attitude you take.
Yeah,
like,
and they already have a ton of problems because they'll never be as exciting as, like, even the NHL is more exciting.
I was talking to my friends the other day about, like, going to a baseball game, actually, literally last night, about, like, when you go to a baseball game, you don't go to a baseball game to watch a baseball game. You're at the park, you're hanging out, and, there's these 9 guys over here doing stuff.
Yep.
Like,
you can have conversations with the people you're with.
You're not watching the game until bare minimum the 7th inning.
It's like Terry Foster used to say. He'd say, I go to a baseball game, I go hang out on the Pepsi porch, and I go drink and talk to the people.
Exactly. It's like the people that like to drink while they play golf or golf while they drink.
Yep. That's exactly it.
Same deal.
All right, getting back to the Wings. So Steve Yzerman is back. Stevie Y is home. It is...
We play the clip from 97 or whatever year that was where he slap shot from the blue line, because that's the only thing I ever remember about Steve Yzerman.
Which is just an elite clip. Maybe I'll put that in at the end of the show. But again, just for like a guy to come home like Stevie Y, especially somebody with a track record. Because another thing I saw was just hoping that he's as beloved as he is now when he leaves this job because of like what happened with Dumars and Alan Trammell.
We should love Dumars more. We'll get to that. I don't want to have another aside on that, but we should love Dumars more than we do.
This is probably for a city that has the Tigers, who are just not good, which they might be off to a decent start at 10-10, but they're just not good.
10-10?
Yeah.
We're 20 games in already?
Yeah, 10-10.
They go so fast.
They're just not good.
You know how long 20 games takes in the NBA?
It's a long time.
Like, I feel like opening day was last week. We're 20 games in.
When the Celtics started 10-10, it was like late November. It was like Thanksgiving. And the season starts in mid-October.
Pitchers have made 4 starts by now. Jesus.
Yeah. But so they're playing a little above their heads. The Pistons are getting just fucking clapped out of the playoffs by Milwaukee.
Should have never been there.
They absolutely don't belong on the floor. And you've got the Wings, obviously haven't been any good. The Lions obviously are the Lions. But Stevie Y's coming home. And I feel like this is the best news. This is, like, if there were any news that Detroit sports needed, this was it.
Especially hockey.
Yeah.
Like, from a hockey standpoint, I don't think there's, like, a guy you could go get that would make a bigger splash than Stevie Y. And I don't even mean as a GM. Like, any player out there that they could possibly get this summer would not make a bigger splash in this town than bringing Steve Yzerman back. There's
a lot of talk, like, and I don't pay attention to hockey prospects, but there's a lot of talk about, like,
lose for Hughes. I caught the bare minimum of wind on that.
Everybody going, look, if you get the number 1 pick, you get Jack Hughes. Yeah. Great player. It's a really good pickup for the Wings, and they won all those games at the end of the year, and they now have the 6th pick, and they have no shot at getting Jack Hughes. But then you get Steve Yzerman, and it's like, oh, wait a minute. Fuck Jack Hughes. We got Steve Yzerman.
Cool. I mean, I'd like to have Jack Hughes, I think. Never actually seen him skate before.
Right. But it's like if anyone's going to make the right pick at 6, it's Steve Yzerman.
I trust that because Ken Holland with first-round picks is not usually very good.
The other thing is, good on the Red Wings for letting Ken Holland stay involved. He's going to
Seattle for sure.
Yeah, I know. He probably is gone. He probably is gone. But it is like good on them for not firing him, I guess. Like, because at least you could go, hey, you're out and Stevie Y's in. But instead they're like, you can stay on and leave on your own terms.
I don't follow this very closely, like I'm monitoring the situation, but if this was happening, who the hell just okayed Blashill's contract extension? Who is it that said, let's do that?
Now, that is a good question, because the other aspect that I wanted to... Ken Holland came out and said he's known that this was happening for 3 months. That they got on a phone call 3 months ago, and Stevie Y was like, yeah, I'm coming. And Ken Holland was like, all right, cool. Like, let's set it up. And Ken Holland apparently was instrumental in getting this to happen months ago.
Hockey does that, dude. They're never going to let somebody go away in disgrace. Like, hockey's way too respectful.
Right, because it's a very polite sport.
People keep giving Ken Hitchcock a job.
But that's where it's like, if that's true, Why the hell was Blashill extended before Yzerman got in there?
I thought it wasn't Blashill fired 2 Christmases ago.
Well, and I get it, because you have a rebuild team. Like, it doesn't really matter. He's in kind of a Ron Gardenhire situation where you just need him to get through the rebuild.
I guess, but like when he got hired, they went to the playoffs. They were still on the playoff streak when he got hired. I feel like they just fell into a rebuild, and they were like, oh, I guess we won't fire this guy.
This is our guy for the rebuild. I mean, Babcock didn't exactly leave a rebuilding team.
No. But Babcock took that team, probably like one of the last few years that I paid attention to hockey, they were full of Grand Rapids guys. Like Nyquist and Tatar were still young, and all those guys that like had no business even being up, and he got them into the playoffs. They got lost in the first round in like 7 games, but still.
What was it, Tampa that killed him? I went to one of those games.
That one went to 7. The last one with Babcock went to 7, then they got killed.
That was Tampa, though. I think I went to one of those games.
Both of them were Tampa. Blashill got beat by Tampa maybe twice.
Again, I used to be a diehard hockey fan. One of the things I've always said for a really long time, if there's anything that's going to get me back into hockey and get me back into Red Wings hockey, it would be Steve Yzerman coming back, taking over as general manager.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to watch some hockey next year.
I love watching hockey. I love Kenny and Mick. Like, they're fun to listen to as any sports duo announcer, like any sport across the board, not just Detroit. Like any announcing duo that like has one team, they're as fun as anybody.
Absolutely. Like, I think, and we'll get into broadcasters in a minute.
Yeah, we have a very broadcaster-oriented show today.
But I do think that the Red Wings have one of the best broadcast teams in hockey.
Absolutely.
One of the best broadcast teams in sports. I think, like, there are kind of like Hall of Fame broadcasts that I would put up. I think the Tigers radio broadcast is really good. Jim Price isn't great, but Dan Dickerson is incredible.
It's hard to replace Ernie Harwell.
True, but like Dan Dickerson does a real good job of it. I think the Celtics with Mike Gorman and Tommy Heinsohn are elite.
Tommy Heinsohn's something else, man.
People out of market hate Tommy Heinsohn. Celtics fans love Tommy Heinsohn.
I hate Tommy Heinsohn. I just know exactly who Tommy Heinsohn is.
Right. You that is bogus. Like, you know what you're getting with Tommy Heinsohn.
The Boston hockey guys are the same way. I don't watch Boston hockey games, but if you ever look up like the fights, the Bruins are always in fights, and you hear those two guys, I can't think of either of their names, but they're just the biggest homers in the world for who's ever fighting a Boston Bruin.
Which is great.
Like it's fine, whatever.
It's good, but that's why whenever they get the NBA TV and they just source the regional, people don't love it.
On League Pass is like, every time I tune in, I'm like, who are they playing? And then I don't know who the other broadcast team is that they're playing. It's like, I guess I'll listen to the Boston one.
But it was Scalabrini a lot this year, and he was pretty good
great,
too.
Though.
He was pretty good too. But no, I think like for Red Wings hockey, it's one of the best broadcast crews that there is. I think radio side too is really good. And
I didn't listen to a Red Wings game on the radio in years.
I haven't either. Dude, again, like this is the one thing that I always said could get me back into it, because I had issue with how Ken Holland ran the team.
Back. If that's who comes back, I'm in.
Ooh, can you imagine?
I think he plays for Arizona if he comes back technically, though. So I'm not sure how that works.
But can you imagine if they get him back to Detroit? That would be incredible.
People who are listening to this, press pause for a second and then ask your phone, if you have an iPhone, who the Magic Man is, and Siri will still tell you it's Pavel Datsyuk.
Was she really?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Still works.
Wow, that's incredible.
To this day.
Okay, so Stevie Y coming back is huge for Detroit. Has there ever been a more anticipated player, coach, GM coming to Detroit?
To Detroit? No.
I think
can't be. I mean, Stevie Y to Detroit is Bird to Boston.
But Jim Harbaugh?
It's a coach in college. I wasn't alive for Jim. Maybe I was alive. I don't even know when Jim. No, I was not alive when Jim Harbaugh.
I wasn't alive when he was playing
at Michigan, so I can't
But it was
no, because that'd be like if Brady came back and coached. Like that Stevie Y's Brady, not Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh is like if Kirk Maltby were the head coach. Or if Kirk Maltby were the GM. Or if Draper had taken over GM.
Right. What about Miguel Cabrera? First year in 08. And I know that the season didn't go well, but the anticipation was like record high.
Was that 08?
Yeah. He's been here for 11 years. Christ. 11 years.
I hated him so much when he first got here because all those numbers came out like every time he strikes out, he makes like $250,000, something like that.
Right, and he didn't have a great start to the year.
I used to get so mad about it. And then he won a Triple Crown.
Before the season started, it was like, wow, we're going to be really good. 1,000 runs.
Jontrell Willis, yes. So psyched.
That's the one thing I think Stevie Y's missing in the return is people, you can't expect 62 wins next year.
And you want to know what else sucks for him? It doesn't seem like Detroit likes Dylan Larkin that much. Like, the city as a whole seems to not really be sold on him, even though he's a Detroit kid.
And I know his stats have gone downhill.
I don't know his performance on the ice. I just mean, like, in general, people seem to not like that guy.
I pay peripheral attention, but I do know a lot of fans who are like, he's kind of a douche.
He doesn't seem to do well with the media either.
Yeah, he really doesn't. And I know, like, his numbers have gone downhill from the Rookie of the Year campaign, which was outrageous.
He was a rookie the same year as McDavid, so he would have had no chance, right?
I'm not sure, but it was the same. Like, it was wow, this is a Rookie of the Year campaign. Yeah. I don't know if he won it, but it was like, since then his numbers have dropped. They haven't dropped astronomically, but they've dropped.
I couldn't tell you what they are.
I feel like this city's not Philly. It's not Boston, but we do turn on people.
Oh, yeah. I just think, like, he's got... I don't want to call him, like, a petulant child. Like, I wouldn't go that far because, again, I don't monitor it that closely. I can't really... But from, like, an outsider's perspective, I haven't heard people be like, oh, great kid. Like, really seems to represent the city. Really seems to have a good attitude.
He doesn't get, like, the Zetterberg deal.
No, not even close.
Like, Zetterberg
from day one.
He's just an incredible guy.
He's going to be a captain. Like, he's going to be a captain.
He did wear the A, Larkin.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure if they're giving a C out, it's got to be him, right? Like, who else are you giving it to?
You would think.
But, like, I don't know. It's the same thing with Mantha. I think he gets the same, like, kind of reputation. Is they're just kind of, they sulk, or they're a little petulant, or they don't really have the right attitude that, like, the Red Wings who won 4 cups did. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. And again, I'm an outsider on this, but still.
And I'm an outsider too, but it's kind of weird because I'm like a former insider talking now as an outsider. Sure. And again, the reason why I got out was just I thought Ken Holland was mismanaging the team. I thought when he was when he had Anthony Seiyu come up and then he sent Anthony Seiyu back down, he did the same thing with Mantha.
I stopped when he didn't fire Blashill. It was like 2 Christmases ago, and I was like, if he's not going to fire this guy, I'm not watching anymore.
I just thought that, like, standing pat at the trade deadline season after season after season, and I'm like, dude, you're really just dragging out this playoff streak as long as you possibly can. You're fine with getting into the first round and getting swept even. Like, you're fine with getting into the first round and getting your ass kicked.
It's that old saying of, if you get in the playoffs in hockey, anything can happen.
Right. Like, just so that you can pimp a playoff streak for your new arena. And then, like, that's exactly what they did. And now they're fully committed to the rebuild. And you go, well, pretty convenient that you did it 1 season after your final season at the Joe, that you were like, yeah, it's time to rebuild this thing.
Maybe we do this now.
All right, so we just did like 22 minutes. Well, not 22 because we started with 5 minutes of bullshit, but we just did like 17 minutes of hockey. I think we got to move on.
So we'll get back to hockey in November, guys.
Yeah, we'll see you again. I have just a personal thing that I want to get to because I was watching the Celtics and Pacers game. Of course I was. And Hubie Brown was on color commentator. And Hubie Brown is a legendary broadcaster in this business.
The thing about being a legendary broadcaster is you usually have to be very old.
Yeah. That is the thing about being a legendary. There's like the Lou Holtz. There's the guys that are just legends, but you know they're past their prime. They aren't exactly a spring chicken.
I'm not sure Lou Holtz had a prime as a broadcaster.
It could be. Hubie Brown definitely did.
Absolutely.
Hubie Brown now, like, you look at him on camera when they do the pregame and they're sitting courtside and they're having their little pregame discussion, and you look at Hubie Brown, my first thought every time is that guy is literally dead. They have him stuffed. There is a person inside controlling him like a puppet. They have his voice like going through some AI, and that guy's dead. Like when I see Hubie Brown. So when Hubie Brown calls a game and his geriatric ass is on the sideline just completely missing what's going on, missing names, saying names wrong, calling plays wrong, doing things like endorsing gladiator combat in a basketball game when you have, who was it? Joseph?
Joseph.
Yeah, Corey Joseph runs up, smacks Tatum on the head with an elbow, and what do we have Hubie Brown on the sideline saying? Oh, that's just a great play. Put his head down, ran up the floor. You know, it's
back on defense.
It's unfortunate that he caught the arm, but he put his head down. He sprinted back. That's a really great effort. Dude, he elbowed Jason Tatum in the fucking face. It was a flagrant from the moment it happened.
Yeah, I mean, everybody knew it was going to be.
It was absolute. And we've got Hubie Brown. That's just a great defensive effort. And then it's unfortunate he caught the arm. Hubie, open your fucking eyes, man. Like, I don't know if it's a case where Hubie's literally blind, but he said caught him on the arm. No part of Corey Joseph caught Tatum's arm.
No.
Tatum's arm and Corey Joseph never came in contact.
It was a tough look for Hubie. Hubie's
wasn't great. And that's just a great defensive effort. Good on Corey Joseph. Like, Hubie Brown, it was something I said about Kevin McHale, too, because Kevin McHale does the same thing when he's color commentating. I like
Kevin McHale as a color commentator.
I don't hate him, but sometimes he gets a little excited. Like when Russ and Dame were going at it in game 1 or game 2, and they were like shoving each other, and Kevin McHale's like, that's just good old fashioned competition. I'm like, one of these
Minnesota
guys,
boy, he grew up a hockey player.
One of these guys could literally shoot each other in the knee, and he'd be like, as you know, these games get competitive.
He still goes back to the clothesline on Kurt Rambis. It's just a good foul. I wanted to make him earn it.
It doesn't make any sense.
Damn near took his head off.
These old guys are out here arguing you can say what you want about the NBA's gone soft. You can say what you want about the foul calls, and you can say what you want about just it used to be a more physical game. But you can't go out here talking about, that's a great defensive effort when people are hitting each other in the fucking face with their elbows.
Yeah, I mean, you got GMs going into referees' locker rooms. You already referenced it once, second time today, like, because flagrant ones aren't being called flagrant twos, and Joel Embiid's laughing about it, and then it happens again in another game, and there's a fight breaking out, and now your GM's got to pay $25,000 and doesn't get to go to Philly.
It's commentator, like, there are times, that specific incident, that fight in Brooklyn, I was fine with commentators going, I'm here for it, because I thought it was just theater.
Yeah.
Same thing. It might have been even today when there were people. It was Pat Bev was jawing at someone, and Jeff Van Gundy yeah, right. Jeff Van Gundy goes, I don't know what they're saying, but I'm here for all of it. And I'm like, that is true. Like, when they start jawing at each other like that, it looks like they might come to blows. Yeah, I'm here for it. But if somebody's like throwing elbows at someone going up for a layup or pushing someone in the back, and I got to listen to Hubie fucking Brown, 89 fucking dead man looking on the sideline.
Is he 89?
I don't know how old he is, but he looks like he's 150.
Yeah. He's got at least one bad eye.
Dude, he looks like a Walking Dead zombie.
Yeah, I mean, he's older than Larry, right?
He's got to be. I gotta look it up now. But it's one of those, like, there's too many guys in this business that just want to die on the mic. And
Marv Albert.
Yes, yeah. Marv Albert. And by the way, Marv Albert has like a history of sexual assault.
Marv Albert's got a lot of weird things going on, cross-dressing wise and the other. But I mean,
Hubie Brown's 85 years old. 85 years old. He's on a national televised broadcast on an NBA sideline.
You can't do that, Hubie. Like, I respect, again, he is a legend. Like, he has been doing it forever. But you're 85 years old. Like, you're 85 years old. You coach guys who are dead, and they died of natural causes.
Tommy Heinsohn's 84 years old, right? Yeah. I love Tommy Heinsohn. Tommy Heinsohn knew well enough this year that he had to step away. He only did like 30 games.
Yeah, he doesn't travel anymore, right?
No, he doesn't travel. Scal does some home games. Scal did like 60 games, and Tommy Heinsohn did about 20. It's good to hear Tommy every once in a while. It'd be cool to hear Hubie every once in a while. I don't need Hubie Brown in fucking playoff games out here saying the name wrong. Like, this is the premier time for the NBA. We got Hubie Brown mispronouncing people's names, saying vaguely racist things occasionally. He's talking about
overtly at best.
Yeah, gladiator combat. That's just good hustle. Like, Hubie, get off the fucking mic.
He's old. Like 85. I did not know he was 85. That's too old to still be calling national. Like, no.
Playoff games.
Like,
it's this. I got to look how old Marv Albert is
now. If you want to go do 25 Memphis Grizzlies games a year and you're 85 years old, you go ahead and do that. But don't be calling national TV playoff games at 85.
Marv Albert is 77.
Mark Jones is not a good enough partner to carry Hubie Brown at 85.
Mike Breen could carry Hubie Brown.
Maybe.
And even that would be tough. Yeah. Mike Breen could carry Hubie Brown on the back of his bag.
Mark Jones is a glorified color commentator. He's a former player. He balled out in Canada. Like, much respect to Mark Jones, but like he's not a great play-by-play guy. He's mostly just a color commentator who kind of shouts some things out every now and then.
You've got Marv Albert doing playoff games.
And Marv Albert doesn't mispronounce names. He just gets the wrong name. Like, most of the time, he calls someone the wrong name.
The way he swallows the mic, The way that he like lisps through. Look at the effort from Kyrie Irving.
He gets so many calls wrong, like on the floor. Like I immediately see, okay, I can already diagnose it sitting here without the benefit of being courtside like you are. I know that it was a 3 seconds, and it took you 10 seconds to realize that it wasn't a foul.
To compound that, he's in the booth with Chris fucking Webber, who also can't get names right 9 times out of 10. I think we're at a point where, and I know other people have done this same show, but sports broadcasting stinks.
It's tough.
Like a lot of it. Like there's guys, Ian Eagle, good big game voice.
Great big game.
Pretty smart guy.
Sensational.
Every once in a while, not a great call. Like NFL games are tough. There's guys like Kevin Harlan who deserve to be immortalized.
Kevin Harlan should give him all the money. Let him do every game.
I really wish he could. Like Jim Nantz, awesome. Kevin Harlan, awesome. Dude, Kevin Harlan, honestly, I would love if Kevin Harlan did every game.
You want a wild factor here? Kevin Harlan's son-in-law, Sam Decker.
Really?
Really.
I would have never
Married
known.
to Kevin Harlan's daughter.
Wow, that's interesting.
Sam Decker.
Who would have thunk?
Good for him.
Kevin Harlan, when you talk about big game voice, Kevin Harlan's got big game voice.
Kevin Harlan can get me excited about a man spilling a beer. Like,
Kevin
legitimately
Harlan
gets me out of my seat because a guy dropped a Miller Lite courtside.
That was a great call.
It was unbelievable.
It was a great call.
Electric. And Reggie Miller's awesome with him. It's like the best shit talker ever right next to Kevin Harlan.
There are times where I wish Reggie would just shut up, but
I love Reggie for who he is, though.
He is pretty good sitting next to Kevin Harlan. It's just Kevin Harlan, like, he knows it'll be like a simple 3 to bring a game within 4 points, and there's 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and Kevin Harlan will electrify it. But then there's like Marv Albert. Yes, isn't doing it anymore for me, Marv. No. And it's guys like Hubie Brown who can't color commentate to save their lives.
Like, they took Marv Albert off the Knicks a long time ago for a reason. Like, that's Mike Breen's chair. He's never giving it up if he doesn't want it. And it was clearly time to give it to him. And even though Marv didn't want to go, they were like, you got to go. So Turner, like, do the same damn thing. Tell him he's got to go.
It's time.
Like, he's like... 85 is too old to be doing color. However old Marv Albert is way too old to be doing play-by-play.
77. He's 77 years old.
Way too old to be doing play-by-play.
There are not enough jobs for these jobs to be occupied by ancient people. And it's like...
Shout out to Uncle Brent. He said, I got to make room for the next generation of broadcasters.
Right. And it's these broadcast managers, these directors, program directors, whatever you want to call them. They're just... Well, these guys are legends. They've earned the right to go out on their own. Right. They make all this money. They've earned the right to go out on their own terms. That's fine. But force them out.
Yeah. I haven't been watching hockey very much, but I heard Tirico's doing playoff hockey. That's neat.
That's cool.
That's great.
That's very cool.
I love Doc Emmerich, but he's getting pretty old too.
It's like Doris Burke deserves to be on the NBA Finals color commentating.
I don't know, Van Gundy and Jack. Like, that's a really
Van Gundy's a really good team.
That's like saying somebody should be an all-star. It's like, who are you going to take out?
But like, if Van Gundy becomes a head coach,
and then one of those chairs open up, it's going to be DB.
Like, can you imagine if Van Gundy becomes a head coach and they put Hubie Brown in that chair?
No, they can't do that. No, won't.
Could you imagine?
No, I can't.
But that's where they occupy these big jobs with guys who just have built names. But it's like, you shouldn't be doing this job anymore.
DB is awesome. Like, DB and Dave Pasch is great. Nothing beats Dave Pasch and Bill Walton.
Dave Pasch, by the way, big game voice.
Big game voice. I like him better at basketball than I do in football, but big game voice. DB, like, I think DB's the next one in line for that shit. Because at least one of those guys is going to get a job this summer, presumably.
Sure.
Everybody thought it was going to be last summer. Like, at some point, one of them has to get a job. It's been so long. I'm amazed Mark Jackson hasn't gotten another chance. That speaks more to the Warriors being really good after he left. But, like, Jeff Van Gundy's been killing it with that G-League stuff.
The Mark Jackson tweet surfaced,
which one?
You know what I'm talking about? I have the 2 best backcourt shooters of all time. Yeah. And at the time, people were like, yeah, you're a fucking idiot. But now people are like, oh, Mark Jackson, he was onto something. Maybe now that tweet's come out, they're like, this Mark Jackson guy might know what he's doing.
Mark Jackson is still the guy who put David Lee on the bench and Draymond in the starting lineup and opened them up in 2014.
He is, but...
like, Steve Kerr took it to a completely different level, and give him credit for that.
Steve Kerr had the audacity...
Mark Jackson made a lot of really smart decisions with that team and that personnel.
He did. He won 51 games.
He did.
he also got knocked out early in the playoffs. And then Steve Kerr won a championship in his first year because he had the audacity to put Andrew Bogut and David Lee on the bench and Andre Iguodala on the bench and start Harrison Barnes and Draymond Green and give Draymond Green the third most minutes on the team.
And make him the primary ball handler for a lot of their sets.
Yeah, he had. I mean, Steve Kerr had some audacity when he came into that job.
Gotten there. Like, who knows?
I don't know if he was ever making those moves.
He's also a good players coach. They all loved him. So, like, at least you have that go. Like, Jim Boylan is a head coach in the NBA. You telling me Mark Jackson can't be a head coach in the NBA? Like, come on.
Listen, Boylan and Garpax.
He just got an extension.
Jim Boylan is...
Former Michigan State assistant. I shouldn't say bad things, but come on.
Let's not take the jobs that the Bulls are giving people.
Fair.
Like, they've had Garpax in that position for far too long.
Well, it's because Reinsdorf is going to die with Garpax. Like, he's going to be buried with both of them in the casket next to him.
He can't wait. He can't. He's counting down the minutes. All right, so broadcasting as a whole is just shitty. Like, even NFL broadcasts, for the most part, stink.
My dad swears by Chris Spielman. Absolutely adores that guy. Like, favorite line of all time. Loves him in the broadcast booth. Adores Chris Spielman. I'm serious. Absolutely. And my dad's a big Michigan fan. Shouldn't like him. Big Ohio State guy. Loves Chris Spielman. Absolutely loves Chris Spielman. You can't say that many bad things because he's got all that stuff off the field. So it's tough. But still. Shay's in full cringe mode right now, folks.
I'm going to withhold my Chris Spielman thoughts for another time.
He does a lot of good things off the field. He's a good guy.
He is among my least favorite broadcasters.
Oh, my dad's gonna not like to hear that.
He is definitely in that. Oh boy.
Hey, what are you gonna do? You know,
Dan Fouts is in that range. Tony Romo gets way too much hate. Too much hate.
He also gets way too excited.
Yeah.
But he does.
But I'd rather have him getting excited and also knowing what the fuck's happening in an NFL game.
People always get mad at that. Like, he calls it out too fast. I love that.
Yes.
I love knowing it's
That's
like,
what I want.
Wow, that shit happened. That's crazy.
That's what a color commentator is supposed to analyze the game. Nobody does it better than Tony Romo. Nobody does it better than Tony Romo.
He's calling out the protections. Like, that's awesome.
It's really cool having a quarterback who was just done being a quarterback.
Who's probably smarter than most of the quarterbacks he's calling the game for. Like,
also,
if Brady and Breeze aren't the quarterbacks in that game, Tony Romo's the second smartest.
He is one of the most criminally underrated quarterbacks in the history of the NFL.
He wouldn't have fumbled that snap on that field goal against Seattle.
If he wouldn't have broken his fucking back.
Like 6 times.
Like, really. All right, so Game of Thrones aired another episode. We have another Thrones recap for guys who don't watch Thrones. Last week, I informed you that Jon and Daenerys are actually aunt and uncle, or aunt and nephew.
Nephew, yes, okay.
Excuse me, nephew and aunt.
Yes.
Yeah, back to our regularly scheduled programming. This week, so Jon was informed that he had been smashing his aunt.
Right.
And so this week, they had a number of encounters early in the episode, and they didn't talk at all. So she's trying to talk to him, and he was just like, all right. And he dipped out of the room every time.
Quick and out.
Didn't want to have that conversation. And every time she was like, oh, what's going on? So at the end of the episode, in a very cringeworthy scene, she comes to see him in the crypt when he's looking at a statue of who he now knows to be his mom. And she comes and snuggles up right next to him, grabs his arm, and he lays it all out for her. And she's like, who's this? And he goes, Lyanna, this is... and she knows because her brother kidnapped and raped her was the story, but really they fell in love and got married and then had a kid, and then she died in childbirth and he died in battle.
This is Jon's mom?
Yeah, Jon's mom and dad.
Okay.
And also, obviously, his dad is Dany's brother.
Okay.
And so he died in battle, she died in childbirth, but now Jon's here and now he knows that that's his mom, and he's like telling her, yeah, so this is actually my mom. And she's like, well, you're lying to me. She goes, who told you this? And he goes, Bran, and also Sam. He read a diary that the High Septon wrote, and he had no reason to lie about it, and it pretty much just said that they got married, and he didn't know what it meant until he talked to Bran, and Bran saw it because he's fucking Professor X.
Okay, that's Professor X.
Yeah, and so then she's like, your brother and your best friend are the ones who told you this? That seems really convenient. She's like laughing, like, are you kidding me? Your fucking brother and best friend are the ones that think this, and you want me to believe it? But at the same time, it's like, didn't you just listen to anything I fucking said? He's not my brother. What do you mean?
Tough one.
It was a very interesting... It was actually, I thought, one of the best episodes they've had. Lots of things happen. One of the characters who, at the beginning of the show, was like 10 years old. The actress was like 12 at the oldest. Had a sex scene, which really I didn't need to see.
Well, how old is she now?
She's old enough to be having a sex scene, but I didn't... Like, we didn't see anything gratuitous.
Which actress is it? Is it the...
Macy Williams, the shorter one. Yeah. She plays Arya.
Yeah. She had a sex scene?
Yeah. It was not... It was kind of awkward.
With who?
A character who has been like very minor to the story to this point.
Okay.
Like it feels like they brought him back for a purpose, but now I'm wondering if that purpose was just to give Arya a sex scene. Yeah. And like it feels like they were trying to telegraph women empowerment or something, but it just didn't really like go over the way that they thought it went over, and it was really kind of awkward. It was like watching my little sister have her first time. It wasn't great.
Not something anyone wants to see.
It wasn't great. Overall, though, it was a really great episode. I really enjoyed it. There were a couple other things. Oh, so the show starts... I don't know if you've ever seen the first episode. You don't watch Thrones.
I have not.
So the show starts with this guy, Jaime Lannister, he killed the king that used to be alive. And
had a kid with his sister who became king and died.
He was banging his sister, but he killed the Mad King, and so everyone knows him as the Kingslayer. Nobody likes him. And Bran, Professor X, used to have the ability to walk. Right. He wasn't always a cripple. Okay. So he was running around climbing.
Just like Professor X.
Yeah, climbing all around his castle. And he climbs into this tower. And then he sees Jaime. And when he sees Jaime, he's railing his sister. And so Jaime goes, oh, this isn't great. And goes over and pushes him out the fucking window of the tower.
So that's how he can't walk anymore.
That's how he became like a paraplegic.
Hate to see it.
Yeah, not great. So they met back up in this episode.
However many seasons later, they haven't seen each other since?
They finally met back up.
Jesus.
And Jaime's like, I'm sorry. And Bran's like, you weren't sorry then. And Jaime's like, no, I know, but I'm not the same dude. And Bran's like, yeah, but you would be if you never pushed me out that window. And also, I wouldn't be the three-eyed raven, which is like Professor X, if you never pushed me out that window. And then they're like, all right, cool. It was so anticlimactic. It was everybody was getting hype on Twitter, like this could be lit when they finally talk.
I mean, something like
not at all. It was like, well, it's a good thing that it's actually good that you pushed me out of.
He didn't bring back up the point of like, hey, I saw you banging your sister like that. So was that
no? Because at this point, it's common knowledge among everyone. Like everybody figured that out.
But people didn't know that like their kid was their kid, right?
Not for a long time, but then the rumor got out, and then people kind of figured. Okay. And then people knew. So Bran didn't need to go like, hey, he was fucking his sister the whole time. Like, it wasn't necessary at this point in the story.
Fair enough.
But it was still like, people thought this was going to be some explosive moment. And really, it was just like, it was me when I'm watching a Celtics game. And the Celtics aren't hitting shots. And I'm on Twitter, and I'm like, the Celtics missing wide open threes is actually good to me. It was like Bran.
Dog in the burning room. Right. Everything's fine. This is fine.
Bran was sitting there and he's like, you pushing me out of that window and turning me into a paraplegic was actually good for everyone.
I can see the future now.
Yeah.
Professor X.
He can't see the future, apparently. He can only see, because they asked him and they were like, what are we going to do afterward? And he's like, how do you know that there is an afterward? Like, he doesn't know what's going to happen next, but he knows what happened before and he knows everything that's happening right now.
So he can see he's like omnipresent, but not actually there?
Because he can see anything that's happening at this moment, and he can also see anything that's happened before.
So it's like a DVR.
Pretty much.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, hey, could you look up what happened last week on Blue Bloods?
And also you can watch live TV? All right, cool, got it.
He's PlayStation View, turns out.
Perfect.
All right, so the NBA playoffs also happened this week, and they were much less exciting than they were a week ago when we talked about them.
There's like 2 series we even have to talk about. The rest of them are pretty much over.
Humble brag.
One of them is literally over.
Yeah. Humble brag. I won $400 today on NBA bets.
It's a solid humble brag.
Yeah, one of the reasons is because the Pacers lost their fucking minds.
It was you texted me like maybe like 30 seconds before Jalen got fouled. And we're like, yeah, I need 2 points to hit the over. And he missed that second free throw, and I was like, no, there's no way they're going to score again.
Because it was a push. At that point, it was just a push. And I'm like, well, at least I get it. At least I get half of my bet.
And Tyreek from the heavens.
Yeah. Oh, God. Tyreek. Tyreek Evans from the heavens.
Evans from the heavens.
Unbelievable that he hit 2 threes right at the end of the game. So basically what happened was I had the Celtics to cover 2.5 points or 3 points, whatever it was, and I had the over on 204. I will never forget this number in my life because with a minute left in the game, the total was at 194. And I'm looking at the score, and I'm looking at the time, and I'm going, there's a minute left, and I need 11 points.
Some garbage points.
There is no fucking way 11 points get scored in a 10-point game that has a minute left.
That was like one team was still under 100.
Right.
Like Indiana hadn't been scoring all game.
104 to like 90 or like 100 to 94 or something like that. And I'm like, there's no. But for some reason, the Pacers, down 10 points with a minute left, just kept fucking fouling.
Yeah. It was awesome.
Like until the clock ran out, they're like, we are going to foul.
Very college of them.
And then for whatever reason, when it was a 4-point game with a second left and the Celtics inbounded, they were like, no, we're not going to foul now.
You know, when you're getting swept, I guess all bets are off. And
I feel like they might have bet on that game. Like I really, it's very rare do I look at a game and I go, they fucking point shade. I think the Pacers bet on that game.
That series was just such a bummer. Like it was like Indiana was just outgunned. They couldn't find a hoop from anybody. Most of their best offensive sets ended with like Domantas Sabonis from 16 feet.
Every time the camera went to Victor Oladipo in a blazer on the sideline, I just got sad.
Like, yeah, it's just like it's shitty. They just need one guy out there who could create a shot for them, and they just didn't have a single one.
They probably still would have lost.
They definitely would have lost, but it wouldn't have been a sweep, and they wouldn't have gotten held under 100 3 out of 4 times.
Like the one thing I will take from that series, I think the Celtics were giving about 75% effort the whole series. There were like the comeback win in game 3 or game 2 rather.
Their collective effort level was at 75. There were guys going 100.
If they wanted to go, they would have been going. But I think they knew they didn't need to.
I think they went in like 10-minute spurts that they knew would be all they needed.
Right.
Night.
Like it felt like the whole series, they were like, we can coast through these games and then flip a switch for the final 5 minutes.
Yeah, and like Indiana's not going to make shots.
And
so
we'll win by 10.
Shots. Yeah.
Because it was like at the end of the day, they're going to be gassed. We're the more talented and healthier team. Let's just wait until the last 5 minutes and beat the shit out of them.
That's really all that series was.
That's exactly what that series was.
And then Boston being like, all right, they're not making shots. Let's just make shots.
Every game was a 3-point game until there was 5 minutes left. And then the Celtics just blew it over.
Kyrie had a little razzle-dazzle on Thaddeus Young today.
That was filthy.
That ball barely touched the net.
And it was not a great game by Kyrie.
No.
But
that move was
that play. Holy hell!
Like little stay. I mean, he made space without.
Dude,
he got away from him in a phone booth
on Easter Sunday. Kyrie Irving took that Young to church.
That was dropped it in from 16 feet, and that ball might not have touched the net.
It was one of the
straight through
most incredible. Like I don't even want to call it a crossover because it felt like he crossed him up about 7 times.
Just a little shake and bake,
and then did like a hezzy exit and just
a little sidestep left, drop it. He created like 10 feet by stepping a foot to the left.
It was beautiful.
That's how far gone he was.
Yeah, so Kyrie at times in this series was like sublime. Today, not great.
Highest winning percentage of any player through 50 playoff games in NBA history. Kyrie Irving.
Playoff Kyrie? It's a real thing?
He had some help for those first ones.
Well, no.
How many times did they sweep to the finals? Was it all 3 years that they swept to the finals?
It wasn't all 3. They struggled with Atlanta.
No, they swept Atlanta.
They swept Atlanta. Who'd they struggle with?
That team that won 60 games, they swept.
Who'd they struggle with in the conference finals one year?
Did Toronto give them 6? Maybe?
I don't know. They definitely.
Boston gave them 5 with IT. They stole that game.
Yeah. Which IT wasn't even playing in the game that they stole.
Marcus Smart. Ball that he scored like 40 or something like that.
Listen,
crazy.
I'm just going to get sad. You bring up Marcus Smart. So we got to look ahead a little bit because the Bucks also just fucking.
Yeah, there's another really good Hubie Brown line today. The way it's trending, it looks like they're going to be playing Milwaukee. No shit.
Hubie, that has been set.
No shit.
That has literally been set in stone for like 2 months, dude. Like.
Really? Are they? Amazing.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. I mean, the second round is going to be outstanding, and this first round has been. Short of Jared Dudley and Ben Simmons beef, just completely mundane and
it could have been so good.
Yeah,
like if the Clippers had been able to scratch out a win.
Also, that game was outstanding. The 31-point comeback has been the highlight of the first round, no doubt. And Denver and San Antonio is still a series. Portland and OKC.
Oh, boy, what happened with Portland?
That was the first time I turned around and looked at the score.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, well, it was like tied at the half, and I turned around. There's 6 minutes to go, and Portland's up 94-78. So
you got a live reaction of me looking at a score I haven't looked at in a while. I got to pull up some stats here.
I hadn't turned my head in a minute.
Holy hell.
Took me off guard a little bit.
Is this the year that Dame is no longer a fraud?
I don't like. We said that last week. I don't think he was ever a fraud,
right? Because he did have that
kept
shot.
Getting screwed. Like people kept getting hurt. They've won playoff series before, but it's hard to get out of the West. I don't know. I was not ready to turn around and see that score.
I told you before we started recording, Damian Lillard, he started 0 for 4. He was like 4 points, 7 assists.
7 points and 7 assists.
Then he finished half. And he's 7 points, 7 assists. I told you this feels like one of those games where Dame's just going to take over, and he's going to finish with like 20 and 10.
I'm very excited to watch this rebroadcast when I get home.
Damian Lillard, 22 points, 7 assists, 7 of 16 shooting, 4 of 8 from 3. So, yeah. Safe to say that he caught fire.
Yeah, usually. CJ's probably going. Like, CJ's been cooking this whole series. Just gets to his spots like it's nothing.
My least favorite and also favorite storyline of these playoffs so far, though. Like, that's the one thing about the first round. It's like last week's Thrones episode. You know that it's not going to be great, but you also know that it's going to set up what will be great, right, like in the next round.
It's like April showers bring May flowers.
Right.
It's going to rain, and then we're going to get some bloom.
So I'm like looking at this. One of my favorite storylines is how deep can Portland go and how deep can Boston go? Because this Kyrie Dame, like just their performances kind of mirroring one another every night.
I see no reason Portland can't go to the conference finals. Like I see no reason they couldn't beat Denver or San Antonio.
San Antonio a little bit scares me.
I think they could beat them though. But
like Portland, I don't think is a good matchup. I think if San Antonio got OKC, they would have a much better shot.
Yeah, It's 2-2. I'm not counting Denver out.
Derek White's good. Dude.
Derek White's very, very, very good. We said it last week. Next year, good luck scoring on San Antonio's backcourt. Like Derek White and DeJounte Murray, if he comes back the way that he was when he left, is going to be. I don't think it's that big a stretch to call it the best under 25 backcourt in the NBA. Like I understand what they have in Brooklyn, but I still like Derek White and DeJounte Murray together are going to be outstanding.
I'm trying to find one that I would like more.
Brooklyn's the only one I could think of under 25.
You're telling me you aren't big on the Lakers, young guys?
I mean, I need to see Lonzo Ball play more than like 40 games and also make free throws.
Yeah, under 25. Like, I don't want to put them... They're probably not even a top 5 backcourt in the league, maybe. But
no.
Best under 25,
yeah,
sure.
25 and under, sure. Like, depending on who Phoenix drafts, they get Ja Morant, that'll be a tough one. But...
What happens if the Nets get Kyrie and they've got D'Lo and Kyrie?
Well, yeah, but Kyrie's 27.
Oh yeah, true. The under 25 factor kind of kills that one.
We're still like, okay.
Whoops. I think that's probably a no-brainer then if you put the under 25 factor on it. But looking ahead, so Milwaukee and Boston is the one that we can kind of set in stone.
I think that's safe.
I don't want to.
Houston, Golden State's probably safe too.
I don't want to ride the Pistons people too much.
I don't give a shit about the Pistons people. People drive me nuts on Twitter.
It's
your stupid optimism. It doesn't make any sense why you think the things you think. You Pistons Twitter people. What about this year looks like? Oh, thank God we made the playoffs. This is fun. What's fun about this? What's fun about this at all?
You know, sometimes it takes someone who doesn't have any skin in the game to put out an unbiased take to really just kind of reflect exactly what's going on. And that happened today from a guy who I typically dislike on Twitter, Matt Moore, HP Basketball. I think the Pistons really have something here if they just add 2 to 3 more shooters and a new point guard and a new center.
Yeah, that'd be great. I
think they'd be excellent.
And it'd be just like, it's the same thing that we've been saying all year. That people are just like, this isn't Andre's fault. This isn't Reggie's fault. Like, we just, no. What do you need? What is it that you think you can go get? Like, you have so much money tied up in 2 dudes who are just garbage. Like, Andre Drummond is a rebounder, and he is nothing else. And he's a great rebounder. He's probably the best one in the NBA.
Maybe the best one in history.
And he is nothing else. Like, he's nothing else. He can't even set a good screen. Blake Griffin is outstanding. He's 31. He doesn't fit the timeline of this franchise at all. So get rid of him now when you can get the most for him. Thank him for his service because he's been the only reason anyone should tune into a Pistons game in the last year and a half.
Getting rid of Blake isn't one that I'm super ready to jump on. Like, I think you can keep him. You have to.
It depends on what you want out of, like, what are you getting out of him?
You have to get rid of Andre.
Oh,
you have
you
to.
can try as hard as you can to get rid of Andre and Reggie. I think Reggie's even more of the problem than Andre.
The only real hope for the Pistons is what we said a couple weeks ago. Kemba doesn't re-sign and Charlotte turns into a pipeline. That's the only hope. And you can maybe get a Malik Monk and a draft. And, like, you'll have to send a draft pick.
There could be some other pipelines, like, possibly, but that's the main one.
Yeah, that's the one that I look at and I go...
You could look at Washington moving Bradley Beal and scrapping this year to try to make some cap space and, like, create a little bit better situation.
But again,
with John.
are they going to take a Reggie Jackson contract when they're already paying John Wall to not pay?
They could take a Drummond. Like, Dwight Howard opted in, so they would be somewhere to move Dwight Howard in that, like 5.2 that he's making next year.
It's a tough move. Even, like, on 5.2, it's a tough move.
The Pistons could take him back. Like, the Pistons could take Dwight Howard, take that buyout on 5.2, get rid of Andre. You just saved yourself $20 million.
Tom Gores apparently doesn't know what year it is either, by the way he's doing things. If you tell him you can get Dwight Howard, Tom Gores might wet himself.
I'm saying get Dwight Howard to literally buy him out of that 5.2. Like, don't keep him. Like, get Dwight Howard to buy him out of it.
I'm telling you, if you tell Tom Gores you're getting Dwight Howard, you're keeping Dwight Howard.
Just tell Tom Gores to sell the team. Like,
ideally,
he doesn't know what the hell he's doing, and he's not going to trade Andre, which is even more sad. Andre is... I don't want to pin everything on Andre because I still think more of it is Reggie Jackson's fault, because when you have a guy who is supposedly your secondary ball handler, even though he's your point guard, he has to be able to move the ball and he has to be able to score, and he can do neither of those things.
I think Andre just doesn't give a shit about basketball, if I'm being honest with you.
He's a rapper. He's got a record.
And I don't even want to say, like, I don't know what he gives a shit about. It might just be that he's a low effort kind of guy.
He doesn't have enough of a motor to put a hand up on Brook Lopez.
Right, and that's... Like, Brook Lopez ate him alive.
Yeah.
And then...
He's not the only one who's done that this year.
And then, like...
Willie Cauley-Stein ate him alive.
Brook Lopez wasn't the only person eating Drummond alive.
Yeah.
Even last night.
Yeah.
Like, Drummond was just getting torn up on the defensive end of the floor. You can't have that from your center. No. Not in today's game.
I mean...
He's already not a stretch big, so he offers you nothing that you need offensively. He doesn't offer any spacing. He doesn't offer any pace.
And again, like, we can sit here and pin it all on Andre, or we can look at, like, well, you traded your best wing defender in Reggie Bullock. That probably hurt a little bit. Lakers didn't really need him, so
right.
I guess you got Svi and a pick or whatever the hell you got.
But again, like...
Svi ain't playing.
Svi was a good college shooter, but, like, there's a reason that he's not getting off the bench on the Pistons.
He's got a minus wingspan.
Yeah,
his arms are shorter than him.
It's...
Like, how do you trade your best wing defender for a guy with no length?
Again, I don't see the vision, and I don't want to do a whole lot. Just
we could, like, I'm done with I have nothing else. Like, what do you want to say? They're awful. They're going to be bad next year too if they don't change things.
It's this really weird section of Pistons fans that are like, we can make this work. That are like, look at what Brooklyn did, and look at what Milwaukee did, and look at what Denver did. First of all, Brooklyn and Denver haven't done anything. Denver is a Jamal Murray nuclear explosion from losing to San Antonio, maybe in a sweep.
Denver, like, hit on... You know how well Denver drafted? Like, to get Jokic in the second round, to get Harris at 19, to get, like... Murray is the 7th pick. Not everybody hits on the 7th pick. Brandon Knight. Like, you don't always hit on it.
Yeah.
Like, they have drafted so damn well, and they got a great developmental coach in there to make it all work. The Pistons have done none of that. They've drafted horribly.
Oh, well, what about Milwaukee? Well, they got Giannis.
They got a unicorn.
What did you get?
He wasn't even supposed to be their guy. Giannis was supposed to be the secondary guy to Jabari. Like, that was the plan.
You don't have Giannis. Well, look at what Milwaukee did. Well, we have Blake Griffin. Well, Blake Griffin's not Giannis. Like, newsflash. Blake Griffin's 31 years old. He has declining athleticism. He just had the best season of his career. He gave 120% in a playoff game when they were down 20 points. Yeah. Dude was absolutely incredible as a Piston. He's not Giannis.
And that's. I mean, I've said it a million times on here, on Twitter, on everywhere. The reason why I want to trade Blake is not because I don't think he's worth it like, I love him. He's been great.
He just doesn't fit the timeline.
This is as good as it gets. He's 31. Like, this is the best you're getting.
And he's injury prone.
Exactly. And what you have around him doesn't fit. So either trade everything else around him or just scrap it and trade him because he's worth a ton to somebody. Like, I think I've said it before on here. Sacramento with Blake Griffin, That's a pretty damn good team.
Yeah.
Like, you have De'Aaron Fox to get out and run, and then you have Blake in the half court, and they have the assets to make it work, and Vlade Divac is squirrely enough to do it.
It'll give them a veteran presence that they badly needed down the stretch of a playoff push.
A mean dude, like, not that Blake is mean, but he plays mean. Like, that is a fit. That is a trade that could happen. They have enough young assets. It would take Bogdanovich, Giles, and a couple of picks.
And guess what? If you get Bogey, Giles, and picks, you're working with something.
Exactly. And then you move Andre for other stuff, and you're working with other stuff.
Here's the thing I see.
You're in the East. You can be scrappy. Be Indiana.
Well, yeah, seriously.
Be scrappy.
Be Brooklyn.
Seriously.
Like, you want to talk about Brooklyn? Fine. Brooklyn drafted really well, too. Brooklyn also kind of tore it down. Like, they didn't...
Kinda.
They didn't try. They didn't do it intentionally.
Bobby Marks gone.
They didn't go out and say, hey, we're going to tear this thing down. We're going to rebuild. Because they really couldn't come out and say that because they got swindled in the worst trade in NBA history and wore that badge for the next 7 years.
And you know what else Brooklyn did? They screwed over other teams in the conference by offering their restricted free agents a ton of money and not getting them.
Yes.
Like Tyler Johnson, Miami's cash strapped because they were giving Tyler Johnson $18 million a year. Washington, now Chicago, got to pay Otto Porter a ton of money because Brooklyn threw a big offer at him. Like, they had to chase restricted guys. That's how bad it was.
Yeah, it wasn't
they couldn't
pretty.
Get them.
And then they walked into a miracle of Magic Johnson idiocy.
Magic Johnson just handed them on a silver platter.
Gave them D'Angelo Russell.
Here's a number 2 pick.
For no fucking reason.
Here's a 21-year-old number 2 pick.
We are ready.
Have fun.
Like, the idiocy of Magic Johnson to go, I'm going to give up on a 21-year-old. The Pistons aren't capitalizing on GM idiocy like that.
No. Ed Stefanski can't capitalize on that. He's not Sean Marks.
You're not signing free agent. It's like, I've got to look at these Pistons fans who get on Twitter and they're like, well, we're a couple wings away. Where are you getting them? And like, I know it's fair.
The whole faction of Pistons Twitter that's like, you know what, I'm happy Blake's not playing. He's got to rest up. We need him for next year. What happens next year? What happens next year? They got the 8th seed. He's getting older.
Well, we're really building. Like, you know what happens next year? One, I firmly believe the Celtics will be better because they won't be in nearly as unique a situation as they were this year. If Kyrie resigns, if they get Anthony Davis, even if they don't get Anthony Davis, I still think they will be better because now they kind of know what it means to play together. You'll have a Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown coming back and getting better. Toronto, if they re-sign Kawhi, better. If they don't re-sign Kawhi, they have a lot of opportunity to go and sign someone else. They have a ton of trade assets.
There's like an easy move for them if they don't sign Kawhi to just pivot. You move Lowry, and all of a sudden you're a young, interesting team.
There's potential where they could swing something with the Spurs and get DeMar back. Like, there are things that could happen.
What would they do? So that's an interesting one. That took me off guard. But like, yeah, I mean, immediately, like, you trade Lowry, Van Vliet, your starting point guard with Siakam, Anunoby, and all these young assets, and whatever you got for Lowry. That's an immediate pivot, and you're fine.
And the fact that you have Siakam really helps that situation.
And you can re-sign Marc Gasol.
Milwaukee, Giannis ain't getting worse.
Nope.
Like, what? Indiana, they're getting Depot back, and they still have all these guys under team control.
Ben Simmons could learn a post game. It could happen.
I didn't even mention Philly yet.
Philly, like, it could happen. Like, you don't have to, like,
maybe Elton Brand full pivots and trades Ben Simmons, and they get even better.
We talked about the two guys calling games for ESPN. Maybe Elton Brand grows a set of nuts and fires Brett Brown and hires one of those two guys. They get an elite coach in there to help work with them. Like, not Brett Brown calling ATOs that end up in Mike Scott falling ass backwards into a corner 3 for the win. You think they drew it up that Mike Scott would take that shot? Like,
you know who else is going to get a lot better? The Brooklyn Nets.
Yep.
The New York Knicks, potentially.
We'll wait and see.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
Like, they have an opportunity to actually build something.
I'll tell you what, they have a way better chance of getting better this summer than the Pistons do.
Yeah, the Pistons are one team in the Eastern Conference. I can look at a couple teams in the Eastern Conference and go, you are not getting better next year.
Miami, the Pistons, Charlotte are just purgatory.
Charlotte is being forced into a rebuild. If Kemba goes,
force themselves.
If Kemba goes back, if Kemba goes back, they're not good.
No.
If Kemba leaves, they're not good.
They're even worse.
They're the Hawks this year. They have to get contracts.
They're the Hawks, but they've got so much money tied up. They're
Right.
awful. And you know what? Memphis just hired their old GM who gave away all those men. Rich Cho got another job. How did that happen?
You look at the Heat. They had the D-Wade retirement tour.
The Heat got backed into corners with all these contracts.
And now you've got UD. You've got just a ton of guys that
James
are just
Johnson's
stuck.
making big money.
Yeah, you've got just
Linux on a 4 for $50.
Sure. And you look at then who else isn't going to get better? The Cavs are going to get better. The Knicks are going to get better. Even if the Knicks
Cavs are as intriguing as any Eastern Conference, especially if they get the number 1 pick.
If the Knicks, even if they don't get 2 free agents, they have a lottery pick. They're going to get better.
Did you hear the Cavs rumor this weekend? Who Gilbert was talking to about the coaching vacancy?
Christ. No.
I'm sure it will be covered at length tomorrow on PMT. But Rick Pitino apparently had some phone calls with Dan Gilbert.
Oh, my God. That's way better than anything I could hope for.
Rick Pitino was apparently in conversation with Dan Gilbert. Very early stages, but that's been reported. I saw Mark Stein, and I think it was Peter Vesey had it too. Both of them on Twitter today.
Anyone with the power to make this happen.
That'd be awesome.
Make this happen. Awesome. Side note on the Cavs. 100%, they're getting the number 1 pick.
It could happen. I mean, they always do. What am I saying? Of course they will.
I saw again this morning, and it's something I don't even think about, but LeBron signing the 4-year deal and the fact that everyone is 100% sure he's going back to Cleveland in 2022 to play with his kid one last run. They're getting the number 1 pick. You might as well put it in fucking stone. Do you think he has to go back to
Cleveland to play with his kid? I feel like his kid could play in LA. Why not?
Yeah, but I just feel like he will.
Is it 2022? Is that the year? Because he'll come straight out of high school. He's not going to college.
Yeah. Now with the new rules, he doesn't have to. Yeah. Works out perfect for Bron Sr.
That'd be funny as hell. What if his kid isn't good? Like, there's still a chance that his kid might not make it.
But if he's playing with LeBron, what if Bron has his kid traded? What if LeBron goes to Cleveland in 2022, halfway through the season, he's like, Bronny, it's not working out.
Sorry, man, I need another run. Yeah, this is a business. It's time for you to learn. It's time for you to learn the ways.
I'm trying to get this last ring, and he sends Bronny to fucking LA, and then goes and buys the team.
He's definitely going to buy whatever team Bronny is on.
No, you know what he's going to do is he's going to have Bronny drafted to the Cavs. He's going to go play a year in Cleveland. He's going to retire after, and then he's going to buy the Cavs in cash. And Dan Gilbert's going to leave and buy the fucking Pistons.
You know what? I would take Dan Gilbert buying the Pistons right now.
That's how
bad it is. At least Dan Gilbert is a championship owner. He spent the money.
I would take Dan Gilbert over Tom Gores every single day, twice on Sunday.
As a Comic Sans letter is, and it's bad, at least when he knew it was time to get out of the way and just shut up and write the checks, he shut up and write the checks. He did it, and they got a championship.
Speaking of tangents, all right, Milwaukee-Boston. What do we think of this series as it's locked in place?
I still every faction of me is like Milwaukee is just such a juggernaut when they run and they do these things, but Boston. That game was February, early February, late February, up in Milwaukee.
Right out of the All-Star break.
Whoa. When this game slowed down, Milwaukee couldn't do anything in the half court.
And now you have the Celtics playing the best basketball they've played all year.
Is it? Yeah. I don't know. You watched them way more this year than I did. But I'm still concerned part of this is Indiana's just really bad on offense.
I get the concern, and I have it too. But at the same time, This is a Celtics team that was losing at home to the Suns. This is a Celtics team that couldn't beat. You put together your best 5 on some nights in this year. They couldn't beat that on the road. This is a Celtics team for the last 3 years couldn't win a road playoff game. They just won 2 in a row.
Yeah,
and it's also so much of it comes from the off the court drama. So much of that off the court drama I don't think ever happens if Gordon Hayward is fully healthy all year.
I can't say that just because Kyrie is so volatile with the media.
Right, but I think a lot of that comes from Kyrie. Why are you guys 10-10? Kyrie, why aren't you guys living up to expectations? Kyrie, what's going on with
part of it was because
Kyrie?
He took a microphone and said he wanted to come back when no one was telling him to do that. He put that out there.
That's fine, but that kind of compounds when you start losing games,
absolutely,
which no one thought would happen.
That's part of my concern now too. They just swept. Everything's peachy. If they go down 0-2 in Milwaukee, what's that locker room like? Can they regroup and win 2 games at home? Because you can't go down 3-1 to Milwaukee. You will lose that series.
No. I don't think if they go down 0-2, I think it's over.
It's tough. Really tough.
They have to split. Yeah. I think, honestly, game 1 is more... If you're going to split, you have to win game 1. And not because I think...
Punch. Absolutely.
Not because I think Milwaukee's just going to be weak in game 1.
What's that boxing saying? Everybody's got a game plan until you get punched in the face. Throw the first punch.
Yeah, the Celtics have to go out and win game 1 and say, we're fucking here.
Yeah.
One thing I will say about this series, I am wholly convinced that these are the 2 best teams in the Eastern Conference.
I'm not wholly convinced. I think Toronto's playing really, really well.
One stat I have for Toronto that will absolutely surprise you. I would be shocked if it doesn't. They are dead last in the NBA in the postseason in getting to the free throw line.
This postseason?
Yeah. This is a stat I thought 100% the Celtics would own. I also thought it would be the reason why the Celtics get bounced quickly by Milwaukee. Toronto being dead last.
It surprises me, but it doesn't overly concern me.
I don't know that it'll bite them against Philly.
I just think there's not that great rim protector or anybody at the rim for Orlando that would put them on the line. Like, they're going right through Nick Vucevic.
Yeah.
Like, Aaron Gordon's not helped. Like, I don't know.
Like, they're still scoring a lot.
Yeah.
But it is worrisome. And, like, I don't know. Embiid is obviously going to put him on the foul line a lot more often than a guy like Vucevic would. Especially
going to get a lot of work. Like, Ibaka and Gasol are both going to just hammer those bigs.
Yeah, definitely. But it's
going to be very interesting to see if Boban can play in this series.
It's a situation. I look at Toronto and I go, I think it's a really good team. I think they're probably going to go to the Eastern Conference Finals because I think Brooklyn has just blown the fucking curtain off of Philly, and like, they're complete frauds to me at this point.
It's hard to call them frauds up 3-1, but like it's not a good 3-1.
It's not a good 3-1.
It's a 3-1.
Like, it's about as bad of a 3-1 as I could have ever seen.
It's Mike Scott falling ass backwards into a 3 away from being 2-2.
Yeah, this gentleman's sweep. It's also like an all-time Brooklyn collapse.
They still
from being 2-2.
They still don't have a closer. Like, Jimmy Butler wasn't out there when they needed him out there, and they had to rely on Mike Scott hitting a corner. Like, if Jimmy Butler isn't there to close a game,
not only
Philly
that,
is vulnerable.
but they also had to rely on Brooklyn missing every single shot that they took in the fourth quarter just to be in that position to throw a punch.
Like, if Indiana didn't miss a whole bunch of shots in the fourth quarter, we'd still have a series right now. Like,
I'm at a point.
It's those things.
Honestly, I'm at a point where Philly might just get swept by Toronto.
I don't know about that. That's.
It's hard to say. But
Toronto's so bad in game ones that it won't shock me one bit if Philly goes into Toronto and wins.
It also, like, Toronto in game one looked so much like regular Toronto, like playoff Toronto.
Something goes wrong with them in game ones. Like, I don't know what it is.
That's another reason why I'm still concerned with them, though. And that's another reason why I'm like, I think the Celtics and the Bucks series is the de facto Eastern Conference championship.
I'm going to say this. I don't even know if I firmly believe it, but I'm going to say it anyways. I think Kawhi Leonard is the best player left in the Eastern Conference in the playoffs. Like, just fully all around for playoff basketball, what he is doing at both ends, the way he is jumping passes, what he's playing on defense, he looks like 2014 Kawhi on defense, and he is making shots at an alarming rate.
If Kyrie had done anything other than go 4 of 13 today, I would say Kyrie. But right
both
now,
both ends. Like, and Kyrie's playing good defense.
Kyrie's playing really good, but it's guard defense, so nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we've said many a time, Kyrie can be playing really good guard defense. It's still guard defense,
and it's against Darren Collison. It's not Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry had a terrible game one. He was 0 for whatever, but he was still plus 11 in that game. But Darren Collison is not Kyle Lowry.
Like, I would put, because Giannis has to do it against someone who's not the Pistons.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
I'll be like, all right, Giannis is here.
Like, Giannis is the first 2.5 games, really the first 3 games in general. The guy guarding Giannis is Thon Maker.
Yeah,
like, come on.
Like, I need. Last year, Giannis got embarrassed by Shea Ojale. Mm-hmm. You have to imagine that Brad Stevens is going to break out that matchup again.
Yeah.
If it happens again, we are going to start a dialogue.
Horford's going to be massive in this series, too.
Absolutely.
Because Horford is the perfect matchup with Brook Lopez.
And
Horford, he can get out and guard him. He can guard him down low. This
is another one of the biggest things to me for the Celtics, and one of the takeaways that, I think a big part of this is, look, Indiana just wasn't very good.
Yes.
I think another big part of this is Al Horford was coming in with 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter consistently and finishing fourth quarters by playing 10.5 minutes and dominating defensively.
If Al Horford is flying around defensively, Boston's going to win that series. Because Brook Lopez is so huge for their spacing because of what he can do, that if they have somebody else who can stand around and protect the rim and let Al Horford go flying out there and not let Brook Lopez shoot from 20 and do whatever he wants, their half-court offense is going to suffer like crazy if Brook Lopez can't get his shots.
Boston's switchability is going to play a huge factor in here, too.
Massive.
Because, again, Al won't always have to fly out to those. Mm-hmm. There will be times where they're going to try to create space for Brook Lopez off a screen and get him the ball, and Al can float down low and cover whoever's going down low, whether it's Giannis or anyone else, while Brown or Tatum fly out to close on Brook Lopez.
The same reason why everybody thought Boston was the best matchup for Golden State is why they're such a tough matchup for Milwaukee. They're so long, and they can switch everything.
And again, it's like we've said a lot that the Celtics have been really inconsistent in the playoffs. or in the regular season, they're playing their best basketball right now, and they're like executing game plans right now. And that's something I haven't seen from them all year.
Kyrie and Bledsoe is going to be awesome.
Oh, it should be excellent. It should be excellent if Bledsoe's not a ghost. Again,
I just mean Kyrie on offense and Bledsoe on defense. I don't give a shit what Bledsoe's going to do on offense. But like Kyrie and going toe-to-toe, because Bledsoe, like, we didn't apologize to him last week. We should have. He should have been on the all-defensive teams when we did it. Like, he's been a great guard defender all year.
Is Bledsoe going to be the best guard defender that Kyrie's ever gone against in the playoffs?
No.
It's not Steph Curry.
No, it's not Steph Curry. I'm just trying to think of anybody else in those East. Like Lowry?
He didn't go against anyone last year. Not Lowry. Like, Lowry is...
Jeff Teague?
Lowry's a fine defender, but he's not Eric Bledsoe good.
I can't think of any really notable. Beverly's been in the East forever. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head that he would have ever gone against. It was like...
This is going to be either it's the Kyrie can't do it on his own.
Who'd they play in the second round after they beat the Pistons in 2016? Was that Toronto? That was Toronto.
It's not Kyle Lowry.
No,
it's not Jeff Teague.
It's probably Bledsoe. It's definitely Bledsoe. Bledsoe's a great defender. I should just be giving him credit for that.
This is huge for like Kyrie's just perception as a player.
Yeah, I mean,
I also think it's huge for the Celtics because I think if you win this series, you re-sign Kyrie.
I mean, you're going to try to re-sign him regardless, right? Like,
well, yeah, but I'm saying
if you lose, you're not letting him walk.
If you lose this series, it's much less certain what he does. I think if you win this series,
so Kyrie re-signs, not they re-sign
right?
Kyrie.
Right.
Got it.
I think if they win this series, Kyrie's coming back.
Yeah, 111-98 final. Portland over OKC. That one's probably over.
OKC's dead. I'm ready to say it.
It's Dunchain.
Yeah, we'll put the Dunchain on Oklahoma City. Dunchain's on Utah for sure.
It's sad, but yeah. Like, Utah it fizzled. It's just a bad matchup.
But the way that Donovan Mitchell has shot in this series, 68 points on 60 or 64 points on 64 shots.
I mean,
I don't know if there was a good matchup for him.
I wish I knew what position he was better at. Like, I've watched him now for 2 years, and this year I watched him so much. I probably watched Donovan Mitchell play 60 games this year. Like, I watched the Jazz as much as I could because I was just determined to figure out who is the guard that's going to come to Utah that is going to make Donovan Mitchell a 2 guard or a 1. Like, what the hell is he? And I still don't know. And taking Ricky Rubio off the ball and letting him shoot corner threes is not it.
He's like, Kmart Kobe.
It just is not it.
He's Kmart Kobe.
Donovan Mitchell?
Yeah.
He's still so young. Like, he's his second year.
I know it's not fair, but to me, like, I don't know what his ceiling is. I don't know how far. That's the thing. Like, I know
he's only 6'3". Like, Kobe's 6'7".
Right, but I look at second year players, and it's not fair. I'm going to put Jaylen Brown in here, but it's not. He's not a second year player. It's not fair to do it. But I look at like guys like Jaylen Brown. I look at guys like Jason Tatum, guys like Ben Simmons, who I know they haven't even touched their ceiling yet. Right. Like, I know they have a ways to go. I look at Donovan Mitchell. I don't know that he has a ways to go. Like, I don't know.
But is that just because you think he's not going to get there, or because he's gotten to where he is so quickly? Like, none of those other guys carried a team into the playoffs.
He got to I think he got closer to his ceiling than any of these guys did, but I think his ceiling's lower.
Yeah, I mean, he's the only one who averaged 20 as a rookie of all those guys.
But I think part of that is, one, there weren't a whole lot of scorers on his team outside of Joe Ingles.
And you know what? You said the ceiling's low. Like, no pun intended. He's the smallest. Like, of all, like, that's going to be a thing. And he's not a 6'3" shooter like Steph. Like, Steph's ceiling's incredibly high because he can shoot.
He's also not a forward like Tatum or Brown, and he's not 6'10" like Simmons.
He's a straight line driver. He can do it off the bounce. Like, it's not like he has to catch off or drive off the catch, but like, at his best, he's going to the rim.
I think at his best, he could be Russell Westbrook.
I don't like that comp. I think it's more Dwayne Wade. Like, I still like, I watched him again. Like,
right, and
I just see a 2 guard. He needs a Mike Conley next to him.
That's the thing. Like, I think at his best, he could be Russell Westbrook, but that would be at his best and not his maximization. Like, I think him being maximized by a team would be, look, we need you playing in the mid-range, we need you straight line driving, and we need you playing good guard defense.
We need you to, like, he shouldn't be the primary playmaker. He should be the primary scorer and the secondary playmaker.
Yeah.
Mike Conley, I think, is the guy who, if they could get him, Kemba would be ideal, but there's no way Kemba's going to Utah. Like, you need a guy who is creating for the rest of them, and that guy can't be Joe Ingles. Like, I love Joe Ingles, but he's a role-playing wing, not your primary playmaker.
Right.
And Rubio can't shoot, so he doesn't get respected as a primary playmaker. It's why he's been as Ricky Rubio as he's been these many years.
Pass first point guards are going by the wayside.
And he's not Rondo. Like, there's pass first point guards who are really, really good at being pass first point guards, like Rondo, and then there's Rubio, who's like
Rondo
he's
also
kind of a flashy passer.
Rondo also like is a really good pass first point guard. He's also one of the best defensive guards the league has ever seen.
Ricky Rubio can't guard it. He's a turnstile.
Ricky Rubio's playing sideways on James Harden.
Yeah, and he's just like, he can't shoot. Like, it's one thing if you're a pass first point guard. Chauncey Billups was a pass first point guard. He could shoot. Like, you had to respect the shot all the time.
As much as we can talk about what the Utah roster lacks, dude, how good is James Harden?
Yeah,
he just keeps getting better.
0 for 13 to start the game, and just
but he actually
nothing phased him.
He actually closed the fourth quarter, and his team stayed with the opponent while he was playing badly. I haven't seen that out of a Rockets team.
PJ Tucker was guarding for a good 4-minute stretch in the fourth quarter. PJ Tucker was guarding 3 guys at a time. Like, his rotation, like, what he does for their help defense is insane.
What he does for their offense when he can just get to the corner.
Stand in the corner.
And guys know exactly what's going to happen defensively. Like, Mike D'Antoni, I give him a lot of flack because I don't think he emphasizes player movement nearly enough. He emphasizes ball movement decently. He emphasizes shot selection more than anyone maybe in the league.
I think he just coaches to the strength of his players.
The player movement is lacking to me.
Yeah.
You never have off-ball movement. At the same time, he knows how to collapse defenses, and he knows how to get his guys to read that and kick exactly when they need to.
I mean, how much would that offense benefit from J.J. Redick? Like, just the dude who ran. Because they tried to get him, and they couldn't get him because they wouldn't give him a 3-year deal.
I'm already just ready to say that they're going to beat the Warriors next series. Like, I feel like the Warriors are showing a lot of cracks, and the Rockets just keep getting better.
I think the Rockets are as good as they've ever been. I can't ever pick against the Warriors.
It's one of those things where I won't believe that they can lose until they lose.
Yeah, like, it has to, like, they have to have lost. It can't be like, oh, they're a game away, they could lose. Like, they got to lose.
It's important to say
they're going to lose, they got to lose.
And if for anyone that's like, well, the Warriors did lose to LeBron, they blew a 3-1 lead. They didn't have KD.
Yeah.
Like, this Warriors team has never lost.
Yeah. No, they haven't.
LeVar Ball, they have never lost.
No, they're not. And, like, that team that blew it to LeBron, there's a million extenuating circumstances as to why they blew it to LeBron.
One, they went all out for the record wins.
You got to rest guys. Look at how well Kawhi Leonard's playing right now, because you just got to rest all
Look at how
year.
well Kyrie's playing right now. The fact that Kyrie's playing at all should tell you have to rest people.
Like, 82, you don't need to play 82 games anymore. You just don't. Like,
and that's another thing that, like, the Twitter hardos will be like, well, guys back in the day used to play 82 games. Well, guys back in the day were idiots. Like, it's okay to rest a little bit.
When did Isaiah Thomas's career end? Super short? Yeah, because he played 82 all the time, chasing 1,000 assist season. How'd that work out for you? Yeah, you are one of 3 guys to ever get 1,000 assists in a season, and your career ended in your early 30s. Like, that sucks. Don't play all 82.
Pretty much.
Just don't.
Pretty much.
Just don't do it.
There's a lot of guys who are having really nice postseasons because they didn't do that. What is Portland's ceiling before we get out of here?
I think they can go to the conference finals. Like, I have confidence in them to beat either San Antonio or Denver. Denver on the road would be tougher. I think San Antonio is easier for them.
You know what's going to fucking piss me off?
Tell me.
If Portland goes to the Western Conference Finals and the Rockets beat the Warriors and Portland has home court in a Western Conference Finals and Portland goes to the fucking finals after Charles Barkley stood in that fucking studio and said Portland is going to the NBA Finals,
Portland could beat Houston.
I will throw myself through a fucking window. It could
happen. They got a long way to go just to get to the conference finals. Like, 3-1 up against OKC is not a guarantee. Like, I think they're going to win this series. I'm pretty confident. I'll even say I think it's over. But, like, it's not a guarantee. Like, OKC could rattle off 3 in a row. They beat them 3 times in the regular season this year. It could happen. But Portland could beat Houston. It could happen. Like,
do you know, I will be furious.
Portland's so long on the wing. They're like Boston. They got so many long switchable wings. They just keep rolling them out.
But honestly,
I haven't even seen Jake Layman.
A Dame Kyrie finals?
Be awesome.
That would be incredible. They just go shot for shot. That would be amazing.
I mean,
there's no shot that we get a Dame Kyrie finals. There's no shot.
This is a fun hypothetical to do, but like, even that, like,
the best finals that we could hope for, to me, Kyrie, Steph, and Giannis versus the Warriors.
either one of those, any of the 4 teams from the East, it'll be entertaining. I want Boston. I think it'd be more fun.
I think I do too. I think
I don't want Milwaukee.
I also think the Warriors against the Celtics, against Kyrie and the Celtics, there would be a little bit of a revenge factor in going against Kyrie.
And like the thing about Milwaukee, like the shot making would not be as fun. Like you Boston and the Warriors, the shots will be insane.
It'd be outrageous.
There'd be like 7 games of just ridiculous shot making. It'd be so fun to watch. You'd be like, this is good defense, and it doesn't even friggin' matter. Milwaukee, they'd just be trying to ram it down the Warriors' throat. Like, that's the only way they could compete with Golden State, is just running it right down their throat every time. And they could do it. They could win 2 games doing it, but they're not going to beat Golden State that way. Like, the only team from the East that's really got a chance is probably Boston. Like, Toronto maybe, because Kawhi had San Antonio up like 25 points on Golden State, and that was Golden State with Kevin Durant. Like,
but again, we don't like. Yeah.
That's the only, like, Toronto and
Kyle Lowry's still a question mark.
Yeah, exactly.
I just
Siakam can play against Draymond though. Like Toronto could. Toronto and Boston are the only ones. Those are the 2 I want to see. I just talked myself into it right now. Toronto and Boston are the only ones I want to see.
I've said it all year. I think Boston is as well matched to Golden State as any team in the league.
The wings, they can switch everything. They're long as hell. It would come down to his Draymond Green making shots.
As soon as I realized that the top 2 seeds were out of reach, it was just get to the playoffs healthy and be the best version of yourselves. Yeah. Because then I think you can beat anyone. Right now, they're healthy-ish. Like, losing Smart sucks, but losing Smart is way better than losing Kyrie and Gordon Hayward.
The Milwaukee series could come down to who comes back first, Brogdon or Smart.
It could be neither of them come back first. And I think if neither of them come back first, the Celtics win. I think if Smart comes back first, the Celtics win.
They're both like,
I think if Brogdon comes back first, Milwaukee wins.
Brogdon as a straight-line driver against Boston would be huge to have. Just a guy who can catch off a Giannis kick out and drive the basketball, because Chris Middleton doesn't do that. He pump fakes and he still doesn't drive the basketball. You need somebody to put pressure on the rim who isn't Giannis.
So that's where I'm at with that series. Is if they get Smart back, they win. If neither Smart or Brogdon come back, the Celtics win. If Brogdon comes back, Milwaukee wins.
Depending on how Brogdon comes back, but yeah, like I said, they just need somebody else who can attack the rim. Like, it can't just be Giannis and If Bledsoe's going, it can be Bledsoe, but you don't respect Bledsoe shooting from outside.
I don't respect Bledsoe in the playoffs a whole lot to begin with. Again, defensive. I have to see it happen against someone other than the Pistons, and I'll buy it.
Absolutely.
That's where, like you even said, when I was like, I think the Celtics and. I think the Celtics are playing maybe as the best team in the East right now, and you said Milwaukee's not exactly struggling.
It's pretty breezy for Milwaukee.
The Pacers are, even if the Pacers are the second worst team in the East, they're better than the Pistons.
No doubt.
By a long shot.
Especially defensively.
I think they might be better than the Nets.
I
think they might be better than the Magic. Like, I think we say a lot, it's a shitty matchup.
Boston didn't light it on fire offensively. Like, Indiana's a good defensive team. Boston got tested.
I don't know that they need to.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Is like,
and that's
the Pistons aren't testing Milwaukee. Milwaukee's doing whatever the hell they want.
Indiana for a long time was the best defensive team in the league this year. That didn't have shit to do with Depot, if we're being honest.
I mean, he led the league in steals last year.
Right, but you know what I'm like. As far as team defense goes,
absolutely.
Depot is not the biggest contributor to them being a really good defensive team.
He is their best guard defender. He was the guy who would have guarded Kyrie.
But it's just like the fact that the Celtics were able to sweep a team that's that good defensively, and I think like Celtics
and
Bucks
do it largely like it wasn't like it was Kyrie.
Celtics Bucks is going to be, I think, also a low scoring series, and again, I think like low scoring games favor Boston more than any other team.
Boston, if they're making shots, that's the difference. And I know that sounds super trivial to say, but if Milwaukee can't get out and run, they are an entirely different team. So if you're making your shots and you don't let them get out and run, you got every chance in the world to beat them.
If you're playing games that are finishing under 215, it favors Boston.
Absolutely.
100% of the time.
They won a game in this series 84-74.
Yeah. And that's... Like, you're holding a team under 80 points. I don't care who it is.
99-91.
In 2019, you're holding a team under 80 points. You hold a team under 100 points 3 times out of 4. You're doing something real well.
The one time they got it, like we mentioned it earlier with the beats. I mean, they got like 10 garbage points in the end, in like the last minutes, and they got to 106. They were not, like, Boston's defense is, give them credit, Indiana's offense was shit.
And that's all we got for this week on the mashup. We'll be back.
Welcome home, Stevie.
Yes, thank God. I'm going to watch hockey again. Welcome home, Stevie. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next week.
See ya.